Hi guys, welcome back. Till now you have seen how to use an get method and post method, but you can see like whatever the content we are doing is just present in an normal URL format, and we are trying to use an postman to test all these APIs. So like what enhancement we can do for this specific API? Like if you are trying to make an API, today it's fine. Like we have an almost 3 to 4 APIs. That is very good. What if we have an 100 APIs? And what if we need to collect all those APIs and we need to maintain it and we need to debug it every time and we need to see the functionality of an each API. You cannot go for a postman and have a track of every APIs, right? So the enhancement thing what we are trying to do is here we are adding a documentation for this API. So documentation isn't something that is a uh, manual present for each of the products, right? Similar way, like we will be having a document for our API, for our own built API. So this type of documentation is present in an fast API and all. But in terms of Flask, it is bit trickier to maintain this API documentation. That what we call is an Swagger documentation. So let's go for our web and see what is that Swagger. So Swagger is something, but it is an UI where you will have a list of all the APIs that you have mentioned in your code and their functionalities and their like what is the purpose of it and what is the description of each endpoint will be like we will be having an entire description of that API, entire collections of that API for that specific project and how it looks. So this is one of the Swagger documentation. Here you can see like they have a specific description and they have a post methods, a post, put, get. Like these are the methods like basically we define in our code, and you can basically use them as per the requirement. Like you don't need to go for the postman every time. You can try it the API in this documentation itself, and you will be having an each and every parameter. Like in postman we need to provide our parameters, we need to have a track of all the parameters that we are passing for that specific API. But whereas in this specific documentation we will be having an access of what type of parameters we need to pass for the document, pass for that API, and what is the type of that parameter and what is the purpose of that parameter that we are trying to pass for that specific API. And even you can try it out as per you can try it here only, like in a Swagger documentation itself you can try everything. So that's what this type of implementation you can see is hands-on in terms of a fast API. But even in a Django also you can make the Swagger bit easier. But whereas in a Flask making and maintaining the Swagger documentation is bit trickier and it is like a time consuming process. But as many of the industries are going with a Flask and then Django based frameworks, so having a Swagger documentation for your REST APIs will boost up the productivity time, as well as even it lays a good impression on you that you will be able to maintain your backend from end to end. Because if you maintain an API, you will be having a clear idea of what happening in backend and what parameters will be fetching from front end. So you will be in an intermediate state in between of an back end and then front end, so you will be having a clear idea. So so we are trying to do this type of implementation and see and make our own customized documentation for our API. So let's get started. So now as there is an app.py already running in an 5001 port, let's make a new file called as an api.py. So in this api.py, let's have a template. So this is my template ready for sir. So basically here you can see like what all the things I am importing. I am importing a Flask from a Flask itself and from a Flask RESTplus. So this is the document. So this is the library where the Swagger document will be served for you. So here you can see there is an API and a resource. Resource is something that is a default argument that you will be passing for the each class, and you can see I have defined in class Flask app, and I have registered that Flask app in an API of the Flask RESTplus library. So I have registered it and I have made my own object of an API. And for each API, like as I said, we need a required parameters. So I have made an API.parser. So this is a parser, and for the parser object, I have created an object. And for this object, I can basically add an arguments. Like as of now, like I am adding an argument called as an a, and which is of a type int. And let me like give it a description as like we can give it a like a description, or else yeah, even you can do one thing is an Yelp. So what is the variable um, is a type of int, okay, and is it required, and is it required. Required is basically something like which is like we need to provide that parameter, or else it will not execute the type. So let me keep it as a true, and let me add another variable called as an b, and even it is a type of int, and b is a variable of type int is an example. And for this the requirement is false, like even though if I don't get it, my API need to execute it. So this is my like arguments that I will be passing, whether it may be get method or whether it may be a post method. Okay, so apart this, like even we have a default also, like a default you can keep it as one or anything, like you can experiment on that. Apart that, even in this API basically you can maintain the version also, like you can mention the version of the API, like because you will be having a multiple versions. So let me keep it as an version 1.0, and with the title called as an API trial, something like that, and with the description of like these are the documents things, like it will be helpful for you when like you may be working in an API for 10 days. After 10 days you may shift for some other work, like after 30 days when you come back for the same work, you may forget many things. So if you have all this description ready for a description ready, so you can just recall the things whatever you have done in the past. So API, you can give an description as an API uh, API free version or practice, something like that. Okay, now you can see just like how we were using app.root, here we are using API because we have registered it. We have registered it for the RESTplus. So we are using api.root, and this is my um, entry point or a URL, and my document of the response. Document of the response is like you will have a multiple response types. Now 200, you can see the response 200. It is a dictionary. If it is a 200, it is okay. If it is 404, not able to post. Or else tomorrow you may have something like you have a case where you need to detect whether the accident or server got crashed. So you will make your own response code of 045, something like that, or 502, something like that, and you will say server error, so that as soon as you get this error code you will be in a stage like okay, the server got collapsed, so that's why like we were not able to retrieve or perform an operation. And another part, like in app dot this one you can see basically like we are doing request.get or else request.argument.get passed, like without using an Swagger documentation. Whereas in this case we are expecting some arguments. So you whatever the arguments variable you have created here, right, you can pass that arguments variable here. So those are the things you are expecting, and you need to create a class. Now let's create a class of asset. Okay, so asset will invoke a resource type because that is an default. You need to assign some resource for that, and Here you basically you need to define the methods. Here you can see I've defined a method, define the method called as an post and get. So post is nothing but it will work on in post operations. So get will work on in get operations. Instead of defining the methods like this, in what we have done in general REST API, you will create a class with respect to whatever the parameters you are, with respect to what class you are working. So this is an assets class where you have defined an post method and in get method. If it's something you delete, you will define it as an define delete and self. So even let it be like this. Okay, so now you can see I am using the expected arguments and I am parsing that arguments. So this is a parser object, so I can parse the arguments. So because I have assigned it for this object, and that object only, like I am referring it like it is nothing but an upload parser is an intermediate between an API parser, and from that parser only, like I'm trying to wrap the contents. So like I will get an dictionary here, same dictionary format like how we were seeing in past. Just like in and get method, like you can see here we are using an arguments, right? Same way here also we are doing the same type of thing, like we are parsing an arguments and we are trying to get a key of a that we are expecting. So here we have added the arguments, right? So I am looking for an a, whatever the a value it will be coming, it is doing a to the power of 2. If it is a post, it will do a to the power of 2. If it is a get, it will do a to the power of 3. If needed, we can check it. We can make it clear like this, so that the things will be clear. The method is equal to post, and the same way here as well. A to the power of 2, and method is get, and here also we can do the same. A to the power of, let's keep it as a 5. Let's copy the same thing. As I said, we need to do the typecasting every time, even though we are expecting an int as an input, but we need to convert that, means whatever the content will be coming, right, it will be in a form of in bytes, so you need to convert it into an int. Okay, and we can keep it as an delete. All right, now let's try to run the app. See, one thing you need to notice, even though I've created an API variable, I am trying to run the app itself. Why? Because I have registered my app in the API, and I have registered the app in an API, and I have wrapped every content like parser, class, everything on an API. So it is nothing but app is in main class, app is in super class, and inside that app we are app is a super class, and like I mean to say the base class, and we are deriving an API class. So API is an inherited format of an app, and we are wrapping all this content in an API, so that, and if we try to run the main thing that is a base class, all this inherited class will invoke and start running. So that is an basic concept you need to understand how it is working. Now let's go for our terminal and let's try to see how we can do that. Okay, so now let's enable the environment and Python, and now we try to run app.py. Okay, this is entirely new code. Okay, so now let's try to run app.py API, sorry, Python API.py. Okay, I think got some error. Not error, I think it not got executed. Yes, now you can see it got executed, and port number is 5000. You can see the port number is 5000. Let's click on that. So here you can see all the documentation whatever we have mentioned. So this is an API trial version and the description of that, and inside that, still we have not given a namespace. Namespace is nothing but like, you can think, uh, if you have a set of users, if you have a set of URLs which comes under user category, if you have a set of APIs that comes under products category. So you can bisegregate based on a user products. So you can bisegregate this APIs according to the uh, template they belong to. If it is in movies, you can say it as a movies. If it is a songs, you can say it as in songs API. If it is the series API, you can say it as a series API. So based on that, you will have a namespace. But as of now, it is a default. Here you can see you have an all the formats like get, post, delete, whatever we have mentioned in this class. Okay, and you can see what is an entry point of that specific API. So you can see that a specific API format has been mentioned there, and all the methods that we have defined in that class, like get, post, delete. These are the methods that we have defined, right? So these are the methods that is present in this class. So all these methods will be wrapped according to their name. So that's why I said if it is a post, define it as a post. If it is a get, define it as a get. If it is a delete, define it as a delete. Don't change the names of the methods. Okay, because whatever the things you will be defining, those are the methods actually. Instead of directly giving a methods in a form of a list, we are making our custom methods because we need all the documentation part, and you will have all this functionality. Let's try to run one of this. Now let me click on the get. You can see what are the things we are expecting. We are expecting a, and it is a type of integer, and we are expecting b, it is a type of integer that we have mentioned in this upload.parser in this case. And you can see even I have added the API a variable is a type of int, and you can see that a is a variable type of int, and you can even see the required is true or false here. So if required is true, let me try it out here. You can actually there is no need to go for the postman, because you can try all the APIs in the same sheet itself. So you can try it there. You can see all the options got enabled. You can give some number here, and you can execute it. And if you execute it, you can see there is a query like what are the current operation you can perform, because if you are using some IoT device, or else you are using a terminal, you need to use this, you need to have an idea of how the curl operation works. So you will get that query as well, and even you will get the URL format also. You can see the URL format is also given, and here you can see the result body, the response body, what are the responses we are getting. And the response is the JSON. And how I said the JSON is because the response content type is of application.json, and it is the response, and the server code is 200. 200 means okay, 404 means not available to post, 502 means server error that we have mentioned here. So this is a reference, as I said, it will be a reference for you. Now if I go there, the code I got is a 200, that means okay, and I got a result as a 9 because we are trying to do a to the power of 3, means 3 to the power of 3 is 3 square is actually like 9, right? So we are getting that content, and the method is get. Now let's try the post method also. So as we in past, what we were doing is like we were going for our postman and trying to post the content, right? Now it is not required. You can do the post operations also in the UI itself. Here you can give some random number. If I don't give number, basically it is not required. If I don't give number, it will raise an error. It will raise this type of alert. Now you can give some number, and if you try to execute, you can see the method is post. And here basically we are doing 5 to the power of 5 to 5 square. Again we are doing the 5 square only, so it's working well. And the method we are getting is post, and all the code, everything whatever I explained for a get, it is almost same. Let's try for delete. Now here also let's try it out here, and let's keep it as a 9, and let's try to execute. Here you can see the method is delete, and 9 to the power of 5 is the value that we are getting. So you can see all the contents, and even you can download it. So one thing is like you can easily maintain all your APIs in a single sheet, and you can execute here itself, and you will be having a track of all the operations that is present in the specific namespace. As of now, like we have not given a namespace. In our next video, let's try to give a namespace and see how it looks. Let's have a multiple namespace, and let's see how it looks. Thank you.